One kid killing the parents is a bad seed. Two kids killing the parents is a bad family.
You've referred before to your stuffed animals. I have some pictures up there. Your Honor, which I've pre-marked because of... Do you recognize that picture?
Mm-hmm, yes.
And what is that?
That's my brother and I on Easter with some more stuffed animals that I got.
And 238?
This is in Pennington, and these are new, and this Cookie Monster is from...
Can't hear you.
And these are new, and these Cookie Monster is from Muncie.
So you brought Cookie Monster in to have this picture taken with the new animals?
Yes.
Did you play with stuffed animals when you were little?
All the time.
What's your earliest memory of playing with stuffed animals?
I started getting the collecting the stuffed animals around when I started in Muncie. I can't remember before that. That's when I got Cookie Monster, and I believe that's when I got the Sesame Street group. I'm not positive. I started amassing stuffed animals, and that's when I got Cookie Monster.
And how long did you continue collecting the animals and playing with them?
Till about 17, I guess.
And would you just collect them and have them around your room, or would you actually play with them?
Oh no, they all had personalities and names, and I acted out things with the stuffed animals, and they had different storylines and mostly battles and things of that sort, like my dad was telling me. And you know, they would have the same personality throughout, and they were...
What kind of personalities? You've mentioned Cookie Monster. What kind of personality
There
did
would
he
be
have?
weak ones that were like these two rabbits were weak, and there were some others that were, they were just more helpless. And then there were, once Cookie Monster was the worst, and then there were a group of more meaner, violent stuffed animals. The Kermit the Frogs were pretty nasty, and Oscar obviously was, and there was a whole series of them. Then there were ones that were like judges, and they would decide matters, and they had the most, they were the fairest and the smartest, and they would be in a position to judge. And they would basically stay out of it until there was a big dispute, and if Cookie Monster was beating up one of the little stuffed animals, and they would step in, and there would be kind of like a little trial. And you know, and they slept with me on the bed, and it was a big deal. It was important.
How much time would you say you spent playing with them?
I spent any spare time I had, but I would stay up late after my parents put me to bed and play with them in the dark. I played with them. In Muncie, I had more free time than later. Times when there was just nothing scheduled, and I had an hour and a half here or an hour there or half hour. So I would go play with them. Or if I was sent to my room and I had plenty of time, I would play.
Now, were most of these animals nice animals, and was this imaginary playtime pleasant time, or what was it like?
Objection, irrelevant.
How much longer on this subject?
Just a few more questions.
All right, overall.
It was very important, very special.
And did the rest of your family members know how important the animals were to you?
Yes.
Overall.
And would sometimes, when other family members were unhappy with you, would they take it out on the animals?
Yes. Yes.
And can you give me an example?
I found the Cookie Monster. Well, my mother threw a tantrum and basically broke him because the eyes were attached and the one broke off in a tantrum in my room. And sometimes I would find some in the shower soaked, which is usually my dad, was my dad. And like the time my mother just threw them out the window when I met my bed. And there were a lot of instances where I was vulnerable there.
And did one of the animals get destroyed by the dog?
Yeah, Fozzie Bear got destroyed. I found him all over the back of the house in the yard.
Did you save any part of it?
The hat. I have the hat still.
And did you get thrown out of class one day because you brought your animals to class and you were raising the animal's hand rather than yours?
Yes.
How old were you?
I was 10th grade, so 16.
And you had a girlfriend named Stacy Feldman, is that correct?
Yes.
And Stacy was your girlfriend from about 15 to 18?
Yes.
All right.
Do you recognize the envelope that was marked as 239A?
Yes.
Whose handwriting's on the envelope?
That's mine.
And what's the name?
Stephanie.
And is that Stacy?
Yes.
And if you would look at what we've marked as 239B, do you recognize that?
Yes. This was a card that went with some roses that I sent her.
And what does the face sheet say? The top part of it.
I love you. I will always love you, Lyle.
And what's it say inside?
It says, P.S. This gift is sent to you from Pookie, Webster, Cookie, Froggy 1 and 2, Theodore, Pinky, Dino, all the Teddies, Lammy, Medium and Little Cookie, Woodstock, Odie, Garfield, King Kong, Snoopy, all the dogs, including Snoopy, Great Magician, Panda, Ratty, all the other rabbits, Suzuki, Man, Oscar, Old Nose, Scooby-Doo, Bugs Bunny, Koala, Sammy Snake, all the Lambs, Paddington Bear, Pinata, Philly Fanatic, Darth Vader, Robot, the other Pinatas, Buff Lions, Chosen Warrior, my fish, Indiana, which is my turtle, Chipper, Just Bear, Velvet, which is a dog, Eagle, and not to mention me.
How old were you when you sent that card?
16 years old.
And the names that you've read off, are those primarily stuffed animals?
Yeah, those are all, well, except for the last few, which are pets, stuffed animals.
You've said that as far back as you can remember, your mom acted like she didn't love you. Is that correct?
Yes.
And did you want her to love you?
Yes, very much.
And did you try to do things to please her?
I tried to be, I tried to do some things to please her, but mostly that meant just staying quiet and just doing what your dad says and hope she's in a good mood.
Did she show you any affection?
No,
Did she act like she approved of you?
she didn't.
Would she sometimes show you pictures of herself when she was younger?
Yes.
Did your mother's looks, how she appeared to other people, seem to be important to her?
She didn't take very good care of herself, but it seemed to be important to her.
Would she ask you how she looked?
Yes.
And sometimes when she asked you how she looked, would she be inappropriately attired?
She would be topless. Usually just topless or like an open robe. And sometimes, with her clothes on.
And what ages are you talking about where she would expose herself to you this way?
Objection, the question is leading and mischaracterizing the testimony.
Overall.
I was about 11.
She help you with your baths?
Yes.
How would she help you with your baths?
She would come in after I'd been in there a while. She would help wash my hair and wash me with a sponge.
How old are you talking about?
Same, 11 to like 11 to 13.
And when you say she would wash you with the sponge, would she just wash your back or?
No, she would wash me everywhere.
She would wash your genitals?
Yes.
You slept in bed with your mom a lot, didn't you, even when you were little?
Yes.
And did you continue to sleep in her bed around this time when you're 11 and 12?
Sometimes.
And sometimes, did you touch your mom?
Yes.
Would your dad be in bed?
Sometimes.
And where would you touch her?
Everywhere.
Did she touch your back?
She kissed me, but she didn't touch me.
And how long did these things go on for?
Until I was 13, a little bit farther than that.
And when this was going on with your mom, was she nicer to you than she used to be?
No. She was worse.
And did it stop at some point?
It stopped a few months after I was 13.
Who stopped it?
I did.
How did she react to that?
She was furious and, she couldn't be too much worse, but she harassed me and we just sort of had arguments about and problems about that for a long time, a couple of years.
Was your
Really for my whole life, because it came out in other ways too.
Your relationship with your mother was never good before that, is that correct?
No.
Was it worse after that?
Oh yeah, she was just, she was pretty much zeroed in on me after that. Very, I don't know, she felt rejected. I don't know what she felt exactly, but it was a constant attacking.
Were you angry? Were you angry with her also?
Was I angry? I was very angry. I thought that it was unfair.
Why was it unfair?
Because we were doing this and she was enjoying it, and I was hoping that things were going to get better for our whole relationship, and things might get better, and she got worse.
Did you think she was going to love you if you did these things?
I took it to be love, and that's what I wanted.
Did you always have problems with her after that about your girlfriends?
I always had problems with her with my girlfriends, yes.
And after all of this stopped with your mother, Did she show you specifically that she was unhappy that it had stopped, or she was angry about it?
She harassed me.
What do you mean she harassed you?
She just kept exposing herself, picking me up at the clubs with, in a robe, exposed, leaving her underwear around, calling me into the room when she knew that she was, changing, asking me if she looked pretty, and called me a liar when I said yes. Sometimes she would be in a tantrum, and then she would come over and she would touch my face real gentle, like she was going to kiss me, and then she would go back into a rage. And she was very upset. And I think maybe Diane being in the house later upset her more.
Did she ask you questions about your girlfriends? Did she seem to want to know a lot of personal details about your relationships with your girlfriends?
Yes. No, she didn't want to know personal details, but she didn't want anybody from a broken home. And it was just a suspicion. Everybody was a gold digger. Everybody was having affairs or a bimbo. Nobody was. She didn't really say what she wanted for me. My dad had an idea of what he wanted. She was just. I only had a couple girlfriends and 2 girlfriends that I had relationships with, but both of them well, 3 because of Christy, so 3. And she was, very. This really was more than critical. It was just like humiliating who my girlfriends were as people, and.
Well, you mentioned Christy. Christy was a very pretty model. Is that right?
She was pretty.
And was she nice?
Yeah, she was like an angel.
And did your mom like her?
My mom just despised her.
And did your mom call her names?
Sustained.
This is 1989, the spring.
Is that a question?
This is spring 1989 is the time.
It was.
Yes. And what names did she call her?
She called her the same names that my dad did. My dad didn't like Christy either, and called her a slut and a bimbo and a gold digger and just a country girl she had come in from out of state. She was from the Midwest, and she came here to be a model. And
Did your mom do something about the plates that you ate off of?
well, she thought she was AIDS infected, and
What was that based on?
that she was a model, and so she wouldn't let me eat at the table. So I ate on paper plates in the den, and she wouldn't. I remember I let Christy go in the kitchen one time when my mom wasn't there, and my brother actually allowed her in the kitchen. I was playing tennis, and my mom found out, and they were furious over the phone. And then she came home, and she boiled all the silverware, everything in the kitchen. Told me she'd never be allowed in her house again. And the relationship ended shortly after that.
Was it important in your family to be fearless and strong and not show pain?
It was one of the main important things that you had to master.
And Would your father sometimes demonstrate his ability to withstand pain, or have exercises in which you would test your ability to withstand pain?
Yes.
And when did these things happen?
They happened starting in Muncie when I was 6, and mostly were just in Muncie. Although we did have a number of particular incidents in Pennington here and there, but it was like a constant thing in Muncie.
How would he do this?
He would, on himself, he would...
First on himself.
He would just show that he could withstand pain. He would allow you to pinch him as hard as you could until you basically made big welts on him. He would never change his facial expression. He would use needles and put them through the calluses on his hands, and they would come through and there would be just a slight blood. He wouldn't flinch. He would hold his hands over candles and longer than I could, and he wouldn't say anything. And this was just for fun.
And would he do things like that to you?
I did the same thing as he did, and tried to do them for as long and so on. And I did the needles all the time, and the candles. And also he had a pressure point way behind your ear. You would hold both, and he would put more pressure until you would try as long as you can before you reached up and had to grab his hands. Had all kinds of little ways you could just enhance your... That was really ability to withstand pain more than fearlessness.
Why was it important to be able to withstand pain?
I don't know. It just was.
Did you see your dad be aggressive with other people? Physically aggressive?
Yeah, I saw him be physically aggressive.
When?
I saw him be physically aggressive throughout his life. It's not in a... Well, I saw him knock the one guy out on the way to a tennis club.
How did he knock the one guy out on the way to the tennis club? When was this?
We were driving to the East Brunswick Racket Club for a lesson with Brad, and a guy had cut us off, and sorry. My dad had cut the guy off, and the guy was pissed and started yelling at my dad, like through the window, and then tried to cut my dad off. And my dad was basically ignoring the guy, and then the guy gave my dad the finger, and my dad just pulled over the side of the road, and the guy pulled his car over in the front, and Dad got out and walked to where the guy is, and the guy had just gotten out, and my dad just hit him once right in the face, and the guy was out, and that was it. And he walked back to the car and got in, and we left. And I was crying, and I was just nervous because I don't know why. I'd never seen my dad hit someone other than my family, and that was the only time I ever hit somebody. But he was physically aggressive with people he met, and as we went through our lives, like at tennis clubs, if he couldn't get court time. And the girl behind the counter would say, I'm sorry, there's no court time this afternoon. And he would touch people. He would put his hand on their shoulder and he'd go, you don't understand, it's very important we get court time tonight. My son has a match. And you could see these people were just unused to that behavior. And they would fight, they would squeeze in, or they would ask other members if we could share half the court and go to great extremes. I've seen my dad do that with tournament officials that didn't want to give me enough time to eat before my match, racket stringers that didn't want to string the rackets overnight so I could have it for the morning. He used his intimidation his way.